be poured out for other people. People think that, I'm different, and they're right. I am different, and I can appreciate it now, but at first I didn't. Um, but giving a little background, the disclaimer that I do have is that God is a redeeming God. He's a God who, no matter what we do, no matter what we go through, no matter whoever is at fault, He is the one who is truly the one who turns everything around. He satisfies the soul. He does everything. He literally grants forgiveness, and then He allows you to have grace to forgive yourself. So, going back to that, as a child, I always knew that I was different. I didn't know God the way that everybody else, because I didn't grow up, or start going to church as a little girl. But I always wanted Him. It was like, I would see my next door neighbor going to church, or the person down the street going to church, and I would ask, can I go to church? Can I go to church? Um, and I can remember, I guess I was probably in the fourth grade when the next door neighbor, who lived upstairs from us in Chicago, uh, um, invited me to church, and I asked my mom, and she was like, "Yeah, you can go." And so I went to one of them sanctified churches, them with the long skirts, and had the hair a certain type of way, and I can remember when the Spirit of the Lord came in that place, how I said, "Man, I want that." But that's what I said, and then I went back, about doing what I was doing. But I would always talk to God. So that's something that He puts in you. He calls us from our mother's womb. He knows us even, when we are first, the egg is first fertilized. He knows that. So He begins to work on us. We don't know that, but He begins to work on us. So me not knowing all of that and any of that, not coming into the revelation of who God was, not reading the Bible, none of that. I did know that when I finally gave my life to the Lord, that I was different, because it wasn't a slow thing. It was a boom, filled with the Spirit the same day. Everything, boom, 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 literally. So, but it was leading up to that. So as a little girl, I had it very rough. Thank God that, the Lord redeemed my mom's and I relationship. It was really, really rough as a little girl, as a teenager. It was really, really rough. We moved down to Arkansas from Chicago, and all the family stayed in Chicago or either moved here in Detroit. That's how that's why I'm here in Detroit. And but I really miss my family. But even before that time, the Lord was already working on me. I would hear His voice. He would speak to me. I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing, running around with gangs and going to gang parties, and just doing things like, man, I can't believe that I did that. I can't believe that I was playing dodge the bullet. I can't believe that I was running, running across tracks and doing all the stuff I can't believe that. But every single time something was getting ready to happen that would have been detrimental or would have caused me to lose my testimony or even not be able to teach, He will remove me. He removed me every single time. One time we were at a party, and this is just giving you a little bit of background of how it, leading up to where I was. So we were at a gang party, and two of the girls got into it, and I was like, I heard the Lord said, "Leave now." And I was like, okay. So the first thing I did was grabbed my cousin, I was like, we need to leave. She's like, no, I'm again. And it was her that was getting into it with another young lady. And she was like, no, I'm not leaving. I said, so Lord said, no, now leave. So I left her. By the time I made it to my grandmother's house, she was shot. And it was like, things just began to happen over and over again like that. I would be somewhere and the Lord would say, go. Or, there were just times where, I would see somebody and the giftings had already began to work. So I believe that I accepted the Lord, but didn't confess it with my mouth. Because I was always a dreamer, I would dream dreams and they would come to pass. I could sense my spirit of discernment was very, very strong I can remember at age 7. I can pick up, the different spirits of people. And so I didn't know that, anything about what was going on, and there was no one to tell me. So when I finally moved back down to Little Rock, my mom came and got me. She said that the Lord told her that if she didn't come and get me, that I was going to die that year. Now, prior to that, my mother's baby brother, my uncle, died, and we were very, very close. And I saw him die. And I didn't understand it. No one understood it. We were all at my aunt's house, and a knock came on the door, and it was 2 guys. And when I opened, I was the one that opened the door, and I was pregnant. I was the one that opened the door. When I saw them, it was like a vision. I saw a vision, and I saw them killing him. And so I started hitting them, and I was like, my family was like, what are you doing? You don't even know them. I said, they're going to kill Anthony. They're going to kill him. And so, no, none of us knew what was going on. I didn't know, I didn't know, to say, well, God said it, I didn't know anything. I just knew that I saw him die. And it was 2 days later, and he was killed. So that right there led my life. I really, really went downhill from there. I did a big time spiral. I was angry all the time. I was always angry. So I just began to do silly, stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. So that's when the Lord gave my mother, a talking to, and let her know, you need to go get her. And so when she came to get me, we had a family reunion, and I think a week later or so, we were back in Little Rock, and I went to church. And Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, Reverend Phillips. And I gave my life to the Lord, and immediately that same day, the power of the Holy Spirit fell on me, and it was really, really something. I began to, everything happened. Everything happened instantly. The tongues, everything happened. So, but I was still, how you can be so full, but you don't know what to do with it. You don't have any type of teaching. You have nothing to go by, and at that time I hadn't started picking up the Bible, to read it for myself. I would listen to, the preacher, or whenever my mom and, stepdad would speak or whatever, I would listen to them, but it wasn't revelation. That's that rhema word where, the Spirit is talking to you. Right. So by this time I was 16 and still full of anger, still full of, disappointments and hatred and unforgiveness towards my mom. And, there was just a lot of things going on. I was molested, just very, very, very bad childhood. And the place where I found peace was always at school. And I didn't understand that. I always found peace at school no matter what. Whenever I stepped into that classroom, It was just I could escape. That's where my escape was. And so when teachers would strike, that angered me. That was my way of escape. Now you taking my way of escape. What are you doing? So I was in the backyard and I said, God, I said, when I get grown, I'm gonna be a teacher, and I'm gonna teach for free. And that's what I said to him. But you know, when the scripture says He'll give you the desires of your heart if you delight yourself in Him. Well, I was delighting myself, and I was talking to Him and delighting myself in Him, and He had already put that desire, so He made me speak it out, speak it forth. Okay. So guess what? I ended up being a teacher. All right. So things had not gotten right yet because I was still walking in unforgiveness, still going through the motions, you know, going to church, you know, praying with my mom, them, you know, doing everything. I was just going through the motion because I was still full of anger and bitterness. I knew that things had to change, but in my mind, a lot of times when we decide that we're the judge and jury, that's where we mess up. We can't be the judge and jury, but of course I didn't know that. You know, everything is in God's timing. You know, so I literally for the next year and a half, I mean, it was horrible. So now I'm at McDonald's, senior in high school at McDonald's. A young man comes in. Now, as soon as I saw the young man, I heard his voice just as clear. Do not talk to him. Wow. He's bad news. And that's what he said. And so I for a long time, you know, every time he would come in, I wouldn't say anything to him. I would, you know, walk away. I would, you know, find something else to do to make sure that I was never, ever around him. So, well, what he did was he got one of my coworkers to come and talk to me. Oh, Deanna, you know, you don't have to be worried about being by yourself with him. We'll just go out on a double date. So, oh, that's okay. He didn't say I couldn't be around him. He said not by myself. You know how you know how we do what we do with that sin. We play with it. You can't play with sin. You know, you start playing with it, then you start justifying, and then you start saying, well, maybe since, you know, we're not going to be by ourselves and we're going to be out in the open and we're going to be, that's just an open door for the enemy because God said no. He didn't say no if. He didn't say no. So I think my mom wants to get on. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do it.
I think it's static. It started static. She was trying to get on.
Yeah, she was trying to call. No, she was trying to call me.
Try your earphone. It's getting good. You have all of our attention. Is that your mom, Helen?
Okay, can you?
Yeah, that's better. Your mom is Helen?
No, Helen is my cousin.
Okay, hello, Helen. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's perfect now.
Oh, praise God.
It is perfect.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Ain't God good? Come on.
Oh, He is. Amen. Praise the Lord. So, in the meantime, what began to happen and what I've realized and come to a revelation of is that we can't force God on anyone. We have to wait on God. He says some plant, some water, but He gives the increase.
Come on.
So what was happening was my mom kept trying to force God on me.
Okay.
You know, or beat me over the head with the Bible. You know, and I learned that too. You cannot do that. You know, you have to. You obtain the Spirit by the Spirit. So if you want to get my spirit, you got to come with me with the Spirit. You can't come with me in your flesh. And even I learned about prayer. You know, when we're praying, we got to pray in the Spirit. We can't pray out of our soul because that's not going to get anything. So what happened was God began to, just stir the pot. Basically, that what was going on was the pot was being stirred. I mean, all kind of stunk and funk was coming out of it.
Okay.
And so the young man, we got to know each other. You know, we went out together. You know, double dated, then we double dated again. Then on the third time, it's just me and him.
Okay.
So now he's trying to talk the sweet talk. Now all the time. Now I've already opened my heart or my mind up to him.
Right.
So with doing that, if it's open to him, it can't be open to God, because it's like when we already straddle the fence, God can't. I mean, we can't hear God when we're straddling the fence, because it's all about soul. That's why, you know, Timothy tells it very, very plain. We are carried away by our own desires. So with our own desires, and my desire was just not to be abandoned, not to be rejected, not to be just show me some type of affection, show me something, because I wasn't getting it, you know, out of love. You know, I'll give it to you, but you got to give it back to me. That's not how you do it. And you're talking about relationship, you're talking about love relationship. If we're going to do it out of love, we can't expect anything back.
Come on.
God has to give it to us. Then we give it out. We don't, even if we never receive it, we can't make somebody love us.
Come on.
And that's the one thing. We can't make somebody have a relationship with us. It has to happen. It has to happen, especially as people of God. We have to do everything according to the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, not the flesh, because flesh begets flesh.
Right.
So that's what was really, I mean, we were going through some turmoil times. And so it had got to the point to where, I mean, in being transparent, and she knows, you know, and it took a long time for me to even, you know, just be open and transparent because of fear of hurting people's feelings. But I have to stop that.
Yes. Come
you
on.
know, God has already redeemed the time, and I had to wait for that. I had to literally wait for healing to come. Now it's time. It's time to expose the devil so that other people can be healed. So what happened was, I began to talk to, I mean, literally, I would talk to her. You know, you telling me to do this, but why are you doing that?
This
You're
with your
not
mother?
doing this.
With your
Yes.
mother? Okay.
Yes. So the rebel now is saying, you know what, you can't do that anymore, because now still now, and I was wrong. I didn't know that I was wrong.
Right.
Because I had no guide. And we have to do everything in decency and in order. And there's nothing wrong with us speaking our heart, but we have to speak our heart in love, regardless of who it is and who it's to.
Right.
So things just got really, really bad. I mean, it got really, really bad. So you know what? Now I'm dating this young man. He can pull me away from here. He can deliver me. He can help me. I got him now. I don't need anybody else. And that's how he got me. So what he did was, and I tell young ladies, I mean, been teaching since 93. I tell young ladies all the time, anytime a guy want to pull you away from your family, your friends, those that know you, get away from them.
He ain't right.
That's
Come
not
on.
real love.
Yes.
That is not real love.
Right.
So what he did was, not only did he pull me away and not allow me to talk to my mother, he pulled me all the way to another city. And I could not have a phone. Wherever I went,
Isolated you.
Yes, I became his possession. Now remember, we are God's possession. We're either God's possession. If we don't allow God ourselves to be God's possession, whose possession are we? We're the devil, and all it is him. You know, and I'm dealing with him in the flesh. So he pulled me away. I couldn't talk to my mother. I did not have a telephone. I could not go anywhere without him. He walked me to work. He picked me up from work. He walked me wherever we went to. It was just me and him. I had no friends other than his
Wow.
friends. I had no one that would be able to be somebody that I can run to and turn to.
Mm-hmm.
So what my mother started doing is praying. And one time she prayed and the Lord told her exactly where I was. And she
Mm.
drove up right to me. Oh, he didn't like that. So that day I got jumped on. I got a black eye. I was pregnant. I got a black he blackened my eye. Um he really began to the abuse began really badly.
So that was that the first time he put his hands on you?
Yes, that was the first
Okay.
time. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said I was pregnant and so now we are no, before that I was living in an apartment with one of my friends before we moved to this the very first time he put his hands on me. I broke up with him because he wanted to go to a party
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to go to the party. uh, I was I was the type of person that if I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, it's just gonna be me and you. I don't need a crowd. So I've never been the one to follow a crowd. It's
Mm-hmm.
always been me and and mine.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to go to this party and I didn't want to go. And I told him, and I knew there's gonna be a lot of women there. It's just gonna be a lot of wildness, a lot of drinking, sex, all of that, because they were supposed to be having an orgy, just being open and honest. And I told him I
Okay.
wasn't going.
Mm-hmm.
So he went anyway. So I told him, I said, okay, I already know what you're going to be doing. I'm breaking up with you. Well, he came and hung me out of my window and told me that if I didn't, I lived on the third floor.
Mm.
Told me that if I didn't break up, if I didn't take him back, that he would drop me, he would kill me. So of course, what am I going to do? I took him back. So that was the very first time that started, the taking back, oh, I'm sorry, but you made me do it. See, all these movies, I lived it,
Mm-hmm.
the
Jesus.
terror. And people
Mm-hmm.
always say, you know, if I was in that position, I, I would do this. You can't say
Mm-hmm.
what you would do.
You better tell them.
Because first of all, it's
Mm-hmm.
demonic forces that you are fighting. It has
Mm-hmm.
absolutely nothing to do with the person that I see, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against spiritual weakness in high places. That's who we're wrestling against. This flesh don't mean anything. All it is being operated by.
Right.
The flesh is just something that we see, but there are spirits working behind it. So anyway, during that time,
Mm-hmm.
there was more and more abuse. There was he beat me. He picked up a hammer. He beat me with a hammer. He stabbed me with a
Jesus.
screwdriver. I mean, whatever I had in the house, he would tear it up. He would throw things out the window, throw my TV out the window, my radio out the window. He uh, then I had a son at the time. I had already had my first son,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't for sure, but I had a feeling. So what I did was, um, I had a feeling that he was sexually abusing him.
Your son?
Yes. So what I did was
Jesus.
I took him to the babysitter,
Uh-huh.
and I told um, him that my mother would pick him up. So
My
I
God.
left him. That's the only way that I could think of that I can get my son away from him.
Now this wasn't his
Um,
son.
no, no.
Okay.
My oldest son's father was killed in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that
Um,
too.
yes. So it was like I had to be crafty in
Mm-hmm.
order to protect my son. So I did. I couldn't. Of course, I couldn't call anybody, and let anybody know because I didn't have a phone.
Yes.
And wherever I was, he was there. So I just had to, hope that my son got to my mom, and that's how she ended up with him, for a little while, and it was until I got him, I was able to at least break away or somehow um, be able to deal with him because I didn't know what else to do. It was like I kept trying to get away from him. I wanted to get away from him, but I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the meantime of us, uh, became homeless, lived in abandoned, I was pregnant, lived in abandoned houses, didn't know where my next meal was coming from. He would, but because he was there, he would probably go into the store and steal,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to feed me. And it's just, my health was really bad, because number one, he kept cheating. So, he's whatever he's sleeping with,
Bring it
you
home
lay
to you.
down with dogs, you lay down with dogs, you get fleas. So he bringing the
Uh-huh.
fleas home. He's sharing his fleas.
Been there,
So,
done that.
I'm going back and forth to the doctor. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you name it. It was like, it was a nightmare. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
was.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I lived through that for, I mean, the abuse, the stabbing. If somebody come knock on my door, because what I did was, when I moved back to Little Rock, um, no, as a matter of fact, before that, okay, when I was pregnant with my third son, second son by him, um, my third son, for whatever reason, he was raped. I was raped by, my ex stabbed me, um, broke into my house. What he did was he unscrewed. Okay, you have a latch where the lock fits in here, but the
Mm-hmm.
latch has an arm. He unscrewed the arm and slid, and it was a sliding door. Opened the door and went in, and went back. Came out the front door,
Mm-hmm.
unlocked it, and then put the screws on. So I'm at work now. We work at the same place because it was so bad that I couldn't even go to work by myself. Like I said, everywhere I was, he was. So he got a job at the same place that I was working at so that he could watch me. If and I
Wow.
was, just so happens that I was a waitress. So
Mm-hmm.
you're a waitress, you're gonna have people flirting, you're gonna have if somebody flirted with me, I got jumped on.
Jesus.
I wouldn't have to say anything. If I'm in a grocery store, somebody say something to me, he hit me upside my head. If I'm at the basketball court, somebody jump on me. I mean, somebody say something to me, he's jumping on me. And it was like that all the time. It was like there was never a time where I wasn't being beat. Every single day, I got
Jesus.
something. Every single day, I was being beaten on. And so by the time, I was pregnant with my third son, um, my heart began to desire God again.
Mm.
It was like, I've had enough of this, enough is enough. Um, but I just didn't know how to get away from him
Right.
because I would go over my friend's house who I work with, and he would threaten to burn the house down if they didn't put me out. So I began to
Mm.
lose friends because everybody was scared of him. I had a babysitter, somebody who would keep my children, for me, and he would threaten them, and they would stop keeping my children for me. So it was like he was trying to break all the bridges. Just he wanted me to suffer and be by myself. Period. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't want me to
Mm-hmm.
have any type of help. So, by this time, when I had my third son, I was living in the projects, and I started going back to church. I
Okay.
started, because the whole time I was there with him, I didn't go to church. I didn't do anything. It was like whatever he wanted to do, that's what we had to do. He dressed me how he wanted me to dress. Everything. I mean, what you see on TV, that was, I mean, literally. If he told me to wear this, that's what I had to wear. If he wanted me to wear a short mini skirt so somebody can so somebody can see, but don't say anything,
Mm-hmm.
don't touch. That's
Right.
that's how that's how I had to dress. So it became. I was just, I didn't care. It was I would rather be dead than to continue to live like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jesus.
when it got came time close to the time for me to have my third son, um, I knew something was wrong. Like I said, he was a rape baby. When he raped me, the day I was raped, I knew I was pregnant. I felt it. I threw up. I
Mm-hmm.
felt it. I knew that I was pregnant. So he went bragging, telling his friends, I got, I raped Deanna. She got, she's having my baby. She's having another baby. And everybody, you need to abort him. You need to abort the baby. You need to abort the baby. And they were telling me that they would help me pay for it and just all type of stuff. But I knew, that that's not something that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, close to the time that it was time for me to have my son, physically I knew something was going on with me. So what I would tell the doctor is, you need to check this, you need to check that. Now, I hadn't had any type of medical training, but I was listening to the Spirit of God, because
Mm-hmm.
when we are in our mess, He said He'll never leave us nor forsake us. So He still
True.
is leading and guiding. All we have to do is listen. So
Yes.
now that my ears are open again to hear Him, He began to talk to me. So what I had was a placenta previa, which means I delivered the placenta first with him,
Mm-hmm.
with my third one. And with the first contraction, the bleeding out, had to try to get to the hospital. And so I told the doctors that I wouldn't, the doctors wanted me to have a C-section. And I
Mm-hmm.
told them, no, I'm not having a C-section. You all should listen to me. So I had, my third son, and everything was going fine, but I knew that I was trying to break away from him. So with me trying to break away from him, um, I started doing it slowly. My mom always taught me to ease your hand out the lion's mouth.
Right.
So I just started to do things little at a time, little at a time, little at a time. So he started fooling around with the girl that lived next door to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home one time from church, and he was over there, and um came home, thought he was at home by himself, came home trying to wash up before, and I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, that's it. So um at that same time, my mom then were getting ready to go to California. So she asked me to house sit for her. She didn't want anyone to, because we lived in a bad neighborhood, and wanted to make sure that with them being gone a week, that someone would be there so no one would break in. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm house sitting at her house, my apartment getting broken into, but it was it was him. He broke into the
He
house.
did it.
He stole all the baby's milk. He stole all the diapers. He took all the food out of the freezer, put it in a big black trash bag, and was coming back to get it. So what he was doing was selling everything little at a time. He stole every single thing that he could carry. The only thing he left me was my children's beds, um, the dining room table, the kitchen table and chairs, and the couch. From
Was he
everything else he
living
stole.
there? Was he living
Yes,
there at the
he
time?
was.
And he
Yes,
still was he on drugs
but
or
no,
anything?
no, yes, but see,
Okay.
I didn't know this at that time.
Okay.
But by at this time, I had already broken up with him. So he was moving on to the girl next door.
Okay.
So
Okay.
remember, I was at my mom's house, and while I was at my mom's house, he's breaking in, and since I'm not there, he's blaming somebody else. But
Gotcha.
and no one wanted to tell me it was him because they were afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I've had enough. But anyway, we Joyce Myers was in town,
Uh-huh.
and she came to Little Rock, and we went to see Joyce Myers, and that sister preached a message. Oh my God, about the grace of God and God never giving up on us,
Mm-hmm.
and that changed my life. I was through. I had said, you know what? Enough is enough. if God wants to take me now, he's going to take me while in the midst of me repenting and turning to him.
Right.
So everything was fine. He left, everything was going well. I got into nursing school. um I was, working, taking care of my three children in nursing school, all of this. So this was January of 92. So I'm going to school January, February, March. Um, and all of a sudden my brother had cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
He knew where my brother lived. He went and beat my brother up,
Wow.
drug him into the woods and left him for dead because he
Jesus.
wanted him to tell him where I lived. And my brother told him. So in the midst of him finding out, where I was, I would come home from, I'm tired. I've worked, I've been in school all day. Then I, go to work, and um, I came home, put my children in bed, and then I went and got in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine being awakened with a butcher knife across your neck, and him saying, "Can I sleep here tonight?"
Mm.
What am I gonna say? No.
Exactly.
So
Jesus.
I said, "Yeah, but sleep in the other room." He said, "Well, in the morning you can take me down to my mom's house," which his mom lived in another city, like uh 25 minutes away. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, yeah, I'll take you to your mom's." So I'm in my mind, that was it. That's all he wanted, was somewhere to sleep at night, and then for him to be taken to his mom's house. Well, in the midst of that, now everybody knowing that we're separated. We had been separated now for 8 or 9 months. I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
seen him. I hadn't talked to him. He was with someone, but I guess they broke up. So when they broke up, he now wants to come back to me. But everybody who thought that I was quote unquote doing well, without him, I was doing this. He told them that we had gotten back together. Now
Oh.
they're mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody turned their back on me
Wow.
because I supposedly took him back. He,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't tell them that he was breaking into the house and holding us by knife point or gun point to keep us, quiet. My
Mm-hmm.
children terrified. The very first night he was under their bed. My
Jesus.
sons knew he was in the room. My oldest son was 5. He knew that, well, he was turning 5. He knew that he was under his bed, and he couldn't say anything to me. Can you
How did he
imagine a
get
two
in?
year old? Okay, the window panes were the it was you see how this is, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know how you had the window panes that are like this,
Yes. That's
and then like, so one was broken out.
okay.
And what
Okay.
he did was he stuck his hand in and unlocked it. Then he slid the window up and he would get in.
Mm.
So I mean, he always knew how to maneuver his way in. That's just as crafty as the devil is.
Yes, he is. Correct.
So
Jesus.
he was in there, and so he did that a couple times, and then my parents saw him in the car with me. And the day that they saw me in the car with him, I was literally taking him to Tucker, Arkansas, which is where he was from.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought we were back together, so they were upset with me. And I'm
Mm.
steady telling them, no, I even told them, he's breaking in, please come fix the window.
Right.
But they thought that I had taken them, so my dad wouldn't fix the window. It
Mm.
just, so it was like, so now, I mean, it's like, okay, what do I do?
Right, because you're scared.
Terrified.
Right.
Now my children are there.
Mm-hmm.
He's told me that if that he's gonna kill us. He's been telling me that. And so this went on from January. I was stalked. I called the police every single day. And one time my grandfather came down to Arkansas, and he sold those cans, and he came to Arkansas. He brought on the Greyhound bus, and he had his gun with him. It was like, I didn't tell him anything. I don't know how he knew, but he knew to bring his gun. I think my uncle Joe told him.
Mm-hmm.
Rest both their souls, both of them have gone to be with the Lord. But he came, and he was the whole time my grandfather was there. He did not show up one time.
We was watching.
He was watching my house.
Mm-hmm.
He did not show up one time. And my neighbor who lived around the corner, we had put together a little something so that if they saw him, they would either whistle, throw a rock, or do something to let me know that he's close, stay in the house.
Okay.
So he saw that. So one time I picked up my uncle from work, and he was going to spend a night with me, and but I always put my purse in my trunk, the trunk of my car, because I didn't know if I had to get out and run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was this. He was so crazy. He thought he was Superman. He would literally come run and try to jump through the windshield. He was high on something. Yes, it was like every time he got more and more violent. So no matter what, it was like, you know, this man really wants me dead. Mm-hmm. He really wants me dead. So I went picked up my uncle, went and remembered that I had my purse in the trunk. So I went to get my purse out of the trunk, and a rock was thrown. So the rock was thrown. I immediately turned around, because that was our, signal to get. So now, I'm like, I'm frozen. I'm like, oh my God, So I'm calling my Uncle Joe, but he can't hear me. And he came, he swooped, and he grabbed me, and he took me around the corner. Mm-hmm. He bit me in the face. Like it's a scar. It's a little long scar. He bit me in the face here and on my cheek, and he choked me. All this was just really scratched up and bruised up. And he told me that if he can't have me, nobody else will. So he told me that he was going to kill me, and he was going to kill my children. He wanted us dead. So the very next day, because this was the same day that I took my grandfather back to the Greyhound, and he came back up north. Mm-hmm. So the very next day, now my stepdaddy's involved. I'm like, look, let's go to the police. Let's, now they have a federal offense, because kidnapping is federal. It's now, because anytime you kidnap, you take somebody anywhere against their will, it's kidnapping. Even if it's across the street, it's actually considered kidnapping. So, and it was around the corner. So he has a kidnapping charge, and he found out about it. The police officers that were coming to my house every time I called, that would pick him up and take him down the street 3 blocks or whatever, and then let him go. I didn't know they weren't taking him to jail. Wow. So they were like, man, you need to leave her alone. Now you got a federal charge. So he called me on the phone. I'm thinking he's, in Tucker. He called me on the phone and told me he's coming back to finish the job. Get ready. So I was at a stop sign when he called me. I was driving down 12th Street. And I said, Lord, whatever I've done to deserve this, give it all to me. Don't let him touch my children. That night, after we had gone to the police had come. The police had come to our house, to my house, filled out the paperwork, did all that. Now they have an APB out on him. So I'm thinking he's in Tucker, Arkansas, 25 minutes away, but he's not. He called me and told me, watch my back. He'll be there as soon as he can. This is the day. So my next door my neighbor that lived around the corner needed me to pick his girlfriend up from Taco Bell, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. She got off at 10:30, so he had just left to go and get their son, and then he was going to ride with me to Taco Bell to go pick her up. Next thing you know, he left and didn't come back. So on his way back, he hollered my name out and said, "Deanna, get in the house." So I'm in the house, and all I hear now, all of a sudden I hear, psh, psh, psh. That's my tire. He's slashing all my tires. So I can't go anywhere now. So I run in the house, close the door, lock it, and get on the phone with the police. I'm like, you all need to get over here now. He's outside. You know, you all been looking for him. He's here. Come now. So he kicked the door in, and the door was thick. This was one of those really, really thick cedar wood doors. He kicked it in, grabbed me by my throat, and picked me up with one hand. He was a skinny little. He was 6 feet, but he couldn't have been no more than, I was probably 145 pounds, and he was maybe that much, maybe 10 pounds more. But he picked me up with one hand and threw me across the room, demonized. Because when he picked me up, I looked at his eyes, and his eyes were bloodshot red, and I knew that they were demons. And so when he picked me up and he threw me across the room, my head landed on the floor, but my body was on the couch, so on the love seat. So I'm hanging and trying to lift myself up, and he pulled out his knife, stuck his knee in my stomach, and the first thing he did was boom, stab me. And when he stabbed me in my chest, and when he pulled the knife out, I went, "Oh, Jesus." That's the only thing. That's what I knew to say. And so when and looking up, I saw something white come through the ceiling, and it came and laid on top of me. So I saw him stabbing me, but I didn't feel it. Then I grabbed the knife. We were tussling with it. So these two, the doctor sewed on very well. So these three were almost gone. They were dangling.
Jesus.
Yes, these three, and they did a fantastic job. So he was stabbing me, and then when I raised up, you know, trying to get him off me, and that's when he started stabbing me in my back. That's how he got the back. Then he stabbed me in my side, which is the intestines, and then he was going for the face. And when he was going for the face, I did that, and I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yes.
Yeah. So this would have been in my face.
Jesus.
But it's like a shield. So he stabbed me 22 times and left me, and I passed out.
Your body? That was
all over my body, everywhere but my face and my legs. He got me everywhere else but my face and legs. So when he got off, he turned, and my boys were standing. My boys were watching.
It done paused. Deanna, I don't know if she can hear me, but it has paused. Okay, she's coming back. There we go. Deanna, if you can hear me, and those that are on the line, what I'm going to do, because I want her to finish this story, I'm going to go out and I'm going to come back in, because I think that it has a time limit on it. And I think we went over the time. So I'm going to go out, and make sure you guys look out, because I'm going to come right back. Okay. Yeah, it froze, but I'm going to save this one, and I'm going to go out and come right back in. Deanna, if you're on the line, I'm going to go out, and then I'm going to come right back. Okay. So you all